Morning, everybody. Thank you for attending not only the Aviation Summit, but taking an interest in design and construction services, kind of what we do and some of the opportunities that we have, along with maybe some tips on as you continue to look at opportunities and, try and engage in work. Maybe some tips that can help you, plus some contact information. So I'm Candace Huff. I'm the Deputy Aviation Director for Design and Construction Services. I've actually worked at the airport for going on 24 years now. So I've had a little bit of experience at all three airports and have enjoyed working not only for the city of Phoenix, but in the aviation industry. So as I go through my slides, if you have questions, just feel free to ask through the chat and we'll be sure to get to them as we proceed. So this is my contact information, email, and the main number to our division that can access actually all of the folks in design and construction services. Our office is located on 24th Street, just south of the railroad tracks and south of Washington. Additional contacts, Ward Helm is also an engineer, special projects administrator. He worked on SkyTrain and T3 modernization, also the Terminal 2 demolition mural relocation, along with a whole host of other projects. And then Ann Kurtenbach is our other special projects administrator. She is predominantly focused on SkyTrain right now and the operational readiness that we have going on with SkyTrain and Terminal 4S1. So I'm going to just touch a little bit on what we do, who we are, how we do it, and some upcoming opportunities. Our mission is to deliver world-class aviation facilities in an environmentally responsible manner. We try to minimize disruptions to airport operations, as we know both the public and our stakeholders, along with our contractors and designers that work for us and with us, are impacted as we try and implement our projects. And so we are very sensitive to trying to minimize any disruptions to the operations, understanding that we really can't do our projects without some impact, but we do try to be sensitive to that and include that in our projects. We manage all the design and construction projects for all three airports for the city of Phoenix, Sky Harbor, Deer Valley, and Goodyear. And we focus on quality, budget, scope, and schedule, all elements that are important and key to our project management and project delivery. What do? We provide all of the project management, leading designers and contractors from cradle to grave. So as part of that process, we work with the streets procurement department under the city engineer to procure design contractors. We negotiate and manage those contracts, and we also procure and negotiate our construction contracts. Some of the successes and accomplishments that we have had over the recent years are, and I think Mayor Gallego touched on this, is the relocation of the Paul Coase mural out of Terminal 2. That mural went in with the original Terminal 2, and as we were looking to demolish Terminal 2 to plan for our development to the west, according to our comprehensive asset management plan, the mural needed to be relocated. So we worked closely with, as she said, the community, the art community, the public, as well as our contractors and designers to not only find a suitable home for that mural, but to successfully remove it, preserve it, restore it, and then install it over in the rental car center on the 3rd floor in the escalator lobby of the center core. It's there right now, also has interactive directory that you can actually get up close and view the mural with some binocular type devices that are over there, and also a touchscreen interactive directory for that. We received an Envision Gold Award for sustainability on the SkyTrain Stage 2 project. Engineering News Record, an award of merit for the Terminal 3 North Concourse modernization, which if you haven't traveled out of the north end of Terminal 3, try to see if you can get over there to not only see the new concessions node in at the center of the concourse, but the artwork, and the renovated facility. In general, we manage about 45 to 50 active capital projects with a capital budget of construction about $375 million per year. That has been more than that at times when we're doing the bigger projects like SkyTrain and Terminal 3 modernization continuously and consecutively. So those end up over $2 billion when you look at those, but on an average about $375 million per year. Active projects through all job order contract, design build, low bid, and CMAR, $2.4 billion total capital program with about 46 active projects. That kind of gives you a distribution of what the percentage of projects that we do under each delivery method. Typically, job order contracting is doing a lot of the smaller projects at all 3 airports, but there are quite a few in number. So that's why that percentage is a little bit higher than the capital program. How we do it, we use design bid build, so low bid for our construction process. We use CMAR, and we use design build also on a case-by-case basis. We analyze and look at which delivery method we feel would be the most successful or the best suited for the type of project, and then we move forward with the selection of that. We take into consideration elements like if you're on an active airfield or if you're in the core of the terminal complex. We tend to look for more qualification-based selection for contractors, so CMAR, design build, so that we can more collaboratively schedule the work, look for constructability reviews, and engage the contractor a little bit closer than with a low bid project. We procure our design professionals and contractors through qualification-based selection, and again, that's in conjunction with streets procurement. With design build, or design bid build, so low bid, the only one that we don't use qualification-based is when we end up putting a construction contract on the street for low bid. We look to include all phases of schedule, scope, budget to then hopefully produce a quality project. We engage our stakeholders. We try to define and hopefully are successful in defining the scope as explicit as possible so that we can minimize any unforeseens or scope mismanagement. So we try to get that identified quickly and completely upfront as we're implementing our projects. We implement projects for the owning divisions at the airport, which are the business office, the facilities division, planning and environmental, technology, and operations. The majority of our projects, they are the owners of our projects and identify what they need, and then we help them tailor the scope and make sure that we've got it pretty well defined so that when we go on the street for selecting a designer and a contractor, we can clearly communicate what our objectives are. Managing a schedule, we do 3-week look-aheads or regular look-ahead schedules. We require monthly schedule updates, which we review with either a contracted schedule entity or our in-house schedule reviewer, so that we can make sure that we preserve and stay on schedule with our projects to meet the owning division's requirements and needs. Managing our budget, we require milestone estimates, so 30, 60, 90, and 100. At times with some of the less complex projects, maybe just a small portion of an apron or a taxiway, we may go from 30 to 90 or 60 to 100, but still requiring estimates as we progress along that path. And in addition, when we have FAA projects, we are required to produce a 30% estimate and provide that to the FAA or ADOT for grant-funded projects so that we can make sure that we are staying on track with the grant allocation. We use third-party estimators to help us review and reconcile our estimates, and as we get to GMPs, to assist with that as well. And we do have a change control process that we implement as part of our projects, both during design and construction. So as we progress with the design, if there are changes that deviate from the original design or that could be leading to added scope, we require a formal request process and review, estimate, and then an approval process through management. We manage quality of a project. We provide inspection, full-time inspection by our aviation staff and also third-party inspectors. We have standards that we have developed with the Design and Construction Services Division and in conjunction with our facilities group to make sure that we're meeting what they need for installation of materials, installation of elements that are related to our projects that they then in turn receive for maintenance. And we use third-party commissioning agents to help with commissioning systems as well as material testing labs to make sure that we are in compliance with the quality standards of our designers. We manage the communication process. Top risks that we tend to see at the aviation department or probably with any project is a clear development of scope during the planning. So we try to work very closely with our owning division to make sure that we get all of the scope identified so that we don't have scope creep and added impacts to the project as we progress through design and then ultimately to construction. We have estimating during our planning process to make sure that we not only budget correctly, but then stay within that budget. If we end up with scope creep and then needing additional funding, then we work closely with our owning divisions to make sure that we can document that and then go through the appropriate approval and request processes. Scope creep during the design phase is not unusual. We try to, as I said, engage the divisions that own these projects early and frequently to hopefully minimize the added scope that comes along with some projects. There are unforeseens that do arise during the project development, both under design and construction, and I think everybody understands that, but we do try to work closely with our owners to try and minimize that creep so that we can control the scope and the budget along with the schedule. Timely decision making is key during all of the process of our project. We need timely decisions. If decisions aren't made quickly, then that ends up costing time and money, along with impacts to the project as far as delivery and cost ultimately to the final product. Access to work during construction, that is something that is very critical during our projects. So as many folks know, working on the airport, to keep it operating actively while we're under construction, we need to make sure that not only we provide a safe environment for the public and our partners, but we need to also make sure that we are safe for construction and that we can access our projects so that we can build our projects and meet the owning division's requirements, as well as if it is a grant funded project, the FAA and ADOT's requirements, not only for implementation, but for grant implementation. We try to isolate our projects when we can, when possible. For instance, the S1 project recently we kept as a landside project, until we have significantly come down the road to construction. We're at about 90% complete and looking to turn that airside pretty soon. So if we can isolate a project and keep it landside, it does help us with our access to and from the project site, as well as security requirements. And then there are, as I said, unforeseen site conditions during construction. I would be remiss to say that we can 100% design a project clean from beginning to end. Throughout the airport, all three airports, there are, I'm sure, underground utilities that have been abandoned in place and not removed, as well as other unforeseen conditions that we need to address during construction. And so we try to be as forthcoming as possible early on in the project to do as much investigation as we can preliminarily so that we can try to minimize the unforeseen site conditions during construction and keep them, as I said, as minimal as possible, but understanding that most likely we will have them, and it is a reality to understand that that will be something that comes along during construction. We foster teamwork in our projects, not only between design and construction and our designers and contractors, but with our owning divisions, with our stakeholders, with everyone that is involved in and around our projects. So we, as I said, foster that. So we have multiple coordination meetings. We engage various experts through different venues and then bring teams together to hopefully brainstorm and collaborate. We do know that at times there will be priorities that conflict during projects, and so part of our responsibility is to make sure that we can collectively and positively come to a decision-making process that meets the majority of the needs and produces the best project for everyone. Project success requires collaboration, which we are focused daily on as part of our project implementation and processes. It takes an entire team to ensure project success. So the contractor, the designer, and the owner, as well as all of the stakeholders that are involved at all three of our airports. So vendors, concessionaires, the airlines, any of our contractors that work through our facilities contracts and our contracts and services group to provide parking systems to keep operating or mechanical systems to keep operating. So it does take a collective, cohesive team to ensure project success, which we pride ourselves on implementing as part of design and construction. Upcoming projects at some of our airports. So small projects at Sky Harbor, about 10 million or less. We have the airfield utility vault upgrade and infield paving. We do have a designer on board to finish the design. We are going to solicit CMAR sometime this spring to finish out the rest of the paving and raising the utility vaults on the South Airfield at Sky Harbor. So that one should be advertising through streets procurement coming up soon. Rental Car Center LED lighting upgrade. This is a project that we had started prior to COVID and then it was put on hold. And now with COVID and supply chain issues and cost of fixtures, we are going to go out for a CMAR to do the construction. We do have the design. And so that will be coming out sometime this spring as well. Terminal 4 fire pump upgrade. We have a designer on board that is improving the fire pump upgrade. It is in the basement of Terminal 4 in the center core. There's going to be some electrical improvements as well as fire pump improvements that are going to need to take place to ensure that we have adequate fire suppression in Terminal 4. Medium to large projects above 10 million at Sky Harbor. Terminal 3 outer apron, this will be an FAA funded project. So we will look for a designer sometime this summer or fall, depending on funding and the NEPA process to be able to get that designed. West Air Cargo, that one is under design right now, pending FAA funding. That one is to the far west of the airport over by our cargo buildings A, B, and C, so near the facilities, south of facilities. It is an apron that is asphalt and needs a full reconstruct. And I said is under design right now, and so look for procurement based on FAA funding for construction. That one most likely will be a little bit, as I've said there. Terminal 3 New North Concourse. This one is just to the east on the north side of Terminal 3. It is a concourse that we have been looking at for a couple of years now as an relief to provide some support for Terminal 3 and possibly over to Terminal 4 for some of the airlines. We are just doing the programming right now, and so based on the programming that should end this summer or fall sometime, we will look, and if we have funding, to hire a designer and most likely a CMAR. And this is just a graphic kind of showing where the projects are. So you can see the infields are on the center runway to the east end. This is the gold is the New North Concourse on Terminal 3. The sort of blue band is the outer apron at Terminal 3 North apron or North Concourse. And then the red over to the far left of the screen is the Western Cargo apron. Down to the bottom left of the picture is the rental car center, and that is where the LED lighting upgrade will happen. And then Terminal 4, the little purple box, is where the fire pump upgrade will occur. I think that's all of those projects. Upcoming for Deer Valley. Small projects, about 10 million or less. We have the blast pads. It is under design right now. We are looking to low bid that sometime this spring to summer. And that is an ADOT funded project. In addition, taxiway C connectors. So there's a multiple sequence of connectors there phased through its implementation 1 through 4 to do reconstruction of those. We will hire a designer sometime this spring, summer, fall, depending on grant funding. And then Taxiway D Phase 2, which is the far east end of Taxiway D. It's the last piece. I believe it's D11 and 12 that is right near the police hangar. And that is pending FAA funding, as well as the police hangar getting relocated, which will allow the construction of that piece to continue. Medium-sized projects, 10 to 50 million. Relocate Taxiway B and its connectors B6 and B9. So that will relocate south of the existing Taxiway B to be able to provide the adequate safety area clearances. It's not clear at this time if we'll do CMAR or design build, low bid, sorry. We're still working with the FAA on that. That is through the center of the airfield at Deer Valley. Our preference would be to try to make a case for CMAR, but we will continue to work with the FAA on what is best as far as the procurement for construction. That one is under design right now and pending NEPA to progress from 30%. And this is a graphic showing those projects. So design of Taxiway D is kind of off to the right side of the paper or the page there, the sort of purple color. It is designed. We are just waiting for the police hangar, which is the little white rectangular building here, for that to get relocated. And once that happens, we can construct the rest of it, which most likely will be about a year or two from now, at least. The red is blast pads. That is under design right now. We are looking to low bid that. It is an ADOT funded project, so sometime this spring. Taxiway B relocation is the green. And again, that will shift south from its current location to provide the safety area clearances. And not sure if that will be CMAR or low bid. We'll be looking to get that ironed out by this fall. And then the C connectors, we will look for a designer selection, and that will be a phased implementation from ADOT. Based on the funding, it most likely will be completely designed but phased in pairs that is consistent with what ADOT can fund year over year. Good year. Upcoming projects, small, 10 million or less. Infield paving, we are looking to hire a designer this spring, and that will be most likely to design a phased implementation of paving the infield based on the prioritization by the airport. Goodyear New North apron and taxiway connectors, that will be a low bid project that is designed. It's just awaiting FAA funding before we can advertise for construction. Medium project, we would look for apron rehab phase 1 to select a designer, 10 to 50 million. So those are a sequence of aprons that are concrete aprons in front of the maintenance hangars that are off to the southwest of the airport and progressing to the northeast. And this is just a graphic showing. So the infield paving, most likely the prioritization of infields will be toward the runway thresholds initially, and then we'll work toward getting to the center as ADOT funding becomes available. The new North Apron and Taxiway Connector, that one is designed and just awaiting funding from the FAA to build that. That's the red colored box. And then the green band is the design of concrete aprons as you progress from southwest to northeast. What to do to win projects at design and construction services or at the airports? Start early. Be in contact with Ward and myself, any of the project managers. Look for the streets advertisement, which is at the end of this presentation, and then I believe Candy Kowalski and Eric Froberg are probably talking about the streets procurement processes. Don't wait until the deadline. Start asking questions early. Engage with Jordan Feld and Planning and Environmental, also with the Comprehensive Asset Management Plan as a guide. And also ADOT puts up on their website our ACIP program, so our Airport Capital Improvement Program, which identifies what grant funded projects we have scheduled for the next 5 years. Read the documents carefully. So with the solicitations, make sure you read what the questions are asking. Make sure you provide the answers to the questions that are being asked. It is very helpful for you to stay in the context of the questions so that the flow is consistent with the way the questions asked in your SOQs as you make your proposals. That helps with the review process. If you have questions, ask them early and ask them frequently. Once a project has hit the streets, you'll be contacting streets procurement for any of your answers. And do make sure that you engage them for their processes, for your SOQ submissions. They are doing them electronically now and have it down it's pretty systematic. Don't wait until the day of submission to find out that you are stuck in a loop or you can't get your SOQ uploaded and submitted. So ask questions frequently and early. Attend the pre-submittal meetings. A lot of information is disseminated at those meetings that you may not be able to glean from just looking at the PowerPoint presentations. That is an open meeting where you can have dialogue with the project managers to gain a little bit more insight that may or may not come through on the presentation that you download after the pre-submittal. Make your proposals easy to read and easy to follow. Like I said, some things that I have heard comments in the past are put the headers of the questions. So if it's a 1A section, put that at the top of wherever your SOQ is addressing that question. 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C, etc. The easier they are to read and move through, the more successful I think proposers tend to be. And then absolutely make sure that you debrief with streets once the selection processes have happened, because they do collect input and then provide that feedback to designers and contractors. We do have a couple of websites, skyharbor.com. That will link you to design construction and also back to the streets procurement, which is the second website here as well. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I guess post them to the chat. Let me know. I know Valerie and Sarah will be sure that questions get to us. And thank you very much for your time this morning. Enjoy the rest of the summit meeting.
Hi, Candace. We do have a couple of questions. One is, what percentage of those project dollars are federally funded?
I'm going to have to look to get exactly what that percentage is, but you can look at the capital programs. The majority of those, we do the capital program for our grant funded projects, but I can get a specific number and provide that to the folks back through the chat.
Yeah, and I will also be posting a mailbox to forward your questions to. So if we need a follow-up, please go ahead and send those questions to the mailbox, and we will get them over to Candace, and she will have time to look at them then. Another question is, we are a small business, but not SBE or DBE. Would we not be considered for work at your airport?
No, you'll be considered for work, but to be able to have that count toward the cities and the federal government SBE, DBE percentages, you would have to be certified. But just because you're not certified does not mean that you would be excluded from participating in processes. We do we do support and encourage companies to go ahead and get certified. I think the SBE program is pretty easy to get certified through. And we are race and gender neutral airports now at this point in time. So we don't set specific goals, but we do look to identify where we can provide SBE and DBE percentages, and we do report on them when we hire contractors and designers that are SBE or DBE certified.
For new construction projects, will the commissioning portion of the scope be carried by the selected CMAR firm, or will it be contracted directly to the airport authority? If it is contracted to the airport authority, is there a timeline for that RFP or RFQ?
We usually use our project teams, and so our design team and our contractor team to do the commissioning. That is usually contracted as part of the construction administration processes for both entities. If at times we do need a third party, we would go out specifically for that, but we tend to include that as part of the project design team.
Is the new North Concourse for Terminal 3 also awaiting any PA approval like apron?
Yes, it is. It's being reviewed for NEPA as part of the comprehensive asset management plan. Yeah.
Where do we find upcoming grant-funded projects? You mentioned a resource to review projects for upcoming 5 years. Thank you.
That is on ADOT's website. So through ADOT, and I believe it's the ADOT Aeronautics. And if you need a specific link, we can get that and put it out through the chat to make it available for you.
And we'll take one more question, which is, does the city accept unsolicited proposals?
No. We usually have to go through a selection process to hire entities. So at least for design and construction services, ours is through the city engineer under Title 34. And then Michael Hughes and the Contracts and Services group will talk to the Administrative Regulation 3.10 for goods and services procurement and how you solicit and contract through that path as well.
Thank you, everyone. I did type in the chat, the email box. If you have any further questions that you think about later or needed clarification on, please send them there and we will pass them along to the presenter. Thank you. Thank you, Candace.
Thank you.